right, you guys, welcome back to Cerebral Palsy and Fitness podcast. I have Duke here, who's actually a podcaster himself. We both connected through our passion of wrestling, and today I consider it more of a collab because I was on his show talking about wrestling and how I was very, passionate about it, and we kind of just talked about different topics, accessibility in wrestling, what my experience is like being like in the crowd at the show, seeing the show, and what I deal with, firsthand experiences. So today we're gonna talk about a little bit about Duke himself, and then we're gonna delve into I guess a few of the matches that were highlighted on SummerSlam. So welcome, Duke.
Listen, David, it is an honor to be part of the your channel here. It's fantastic, man. So thank you for inviting me. You've grown into a great friend. So this would be exciting to be on your show and have this conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's honestly, podcasting is about helping other people. If you connections and helping others, it's not about just yourself. It's about growing everyone around you, you know.
I agree. I agree. And it's funny that you say that because it can be challenging to find people to collaborate with. There are a lot of folks who, when they gain knowledge, they don't want to share it. I'm the complete opposite. I love to share knowledge. I love to bring people together. I love to collaborate. And that's how Sophia V, our mutual friend, she and I
Yeah.
built our friendship off of just that spirit of collaboration. And she suggested that you be a guest on my show. You know what I mean? So it's just, and now here you and I are, and you and I have talked about different people that we can help each other get on each other's shows and things like that. So no one has ever gotten anywhere in life on their own. And podcasting is such a challenge because you have to build an audience if you really want to get your message out there.
Right.
And it's not easy to do that. You start with people that you know, and over time, you really got to venture out and start building relationships with strangers. But hopefully, like minded people or people who just want to hear whatever subject you're talking about. And over time, word of mouth marketing and what have you can grow. But you don't get there unless you find great people like David to collaborate with and build with. So again, it's an honor, man, to be here with you because I have a lot of respect and admiration for you, and I love your takes on wrestling and life in general. So it's cool. It's really cool.
Thank you, man. And same here. I mean, you when I stumbled across your podcast, I realized how passionate you are and driven, seeing that you're actually out there really trying to reach to the wrestling business, really trying to delve into what the wrestling business is about through not just the wrestlers themselves, but promoters and everybody else out there. Um, how did you get into wrestling firsthand as a fan? How did you discover that you're like, man, I love wrestling, but I want to take it further?
That's a great question. I mean, my first memory of being alive is watching wrestling. Ric Flair versus Harley Race at Starrcade in the cage. So wrestling has always been a part of my life. My father, who was originally from Mississippi, he was a huge wrestling fan. Folks down south, they love their wrestling. So it was always on in the background on TV. He'd always get the magazines, but I just, for some reason, it was wrestling more than basketball, more than baseball, more than football. It was wrestling that grabbed my attention. And my parents recognized that early. So they used that as a tool to keep me out of trouble. You got to get your chores done. You got to get your homework done. And if you do that, then you can watch wrestling. If you don't stop acting up, then we're not going to let you watch wrestling tonight. And bear in mind, I mean, I'm 40 years old. So I grew up at the beginning of cable TV where there was not a lot of programming, but there were more channels. So because of that, pro wrestling, which is easy, it's cheap, you can put it on, you're always going to draw an audience. There was pro wrestling all over cable TV, man. So it wasn't unusual for me to watch 5 or 6 different wrestling promotions in a week, every week, and just have that type of access. So I never could get enough. I got all the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines and things of that nature as well, and just really enjoyed the spectacle, the storytelling, the larger than life characters. And then as I grew older, realizing that this is a business. So there's a whole other layer of understanding how to manage people, how to coach people and develop people, how to get the most out of folks and develop them to being somebody that they may not even thought that they could be, you know? So wrestling has really been there my entire life and helped me understand and frame my own life. And I love it, man. It's something that I got to have a piece of every single day. So fast forward, you know, with Facebook and things like that, I was always posting about Monday Night Raw is coming on tonight, SmackDown's coming on tonight, or such and such pay per view. And I would just tag random friends who I knew enjoyed wrestling. That went from a couple of people to growing to about 80, 90 people a week. And after a while, Facebook stopped. They wouldn't allow me to tag people anymore because they said that it's just too much.
Yeah.
And they forced me to create a group. So that's how I created Duke's Wrestling Crew, which is a private Facebook group. And then after talking to people in there, it's like, you know what? Why don't I try a podcast out since, you know, this is the thing that we're talking about in the group. Let's expand this out and see what everybody else in the world thinks about it. So that's how the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast started. My first interview was with Adrian, who is the owner of Middle Kingdom Wrestling. He's a Latino gentleman from the United States who moved to China, of all
Wow.
places, and started a promotion. A lot of diversity. You got people from all different backgrounds that wrestle there. But he was my first interview. This American who lives in China, who started his own promotion and what have you. And you know, now we have Hall of Famers and all kinds of folks, even great fans like yourself who also have podcasts. It's really grown into a special type of community. But like you, David, I have a spirit of helping others, advocacy. You know, my background is in political science, and I've
Okay.
worked on the state and municipal level doing that sort of thing. So everything that I do is centered around combating racism, sexism, classism, you know, xenophobia, things that homophobia, things of that nature. So when you listen to my show, especially when I'm giving my takes, you'll notice that there is a strong spirit of advocacy within what I'm saying. You know what I mean? When I say there's not enough women's matches, or why aren't there more
There
black
isn't.
and brown people in the main event, or, you know, things like that. It's like, well, what the hell is it? Why do you keep bringing that up, dude? Well, it's like, well, because this is my life's work. This is what I'm about, man. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Advocate for others and make sure that we have as even a playing field as possible. So that's what it's about.
right, right. And like you said, there's not enough women's matches. And
No.
I mean, I'd hate to jump into SummerSlam the second, but that's one thing that kind of irked me a little bit
Yep.
was the fact that they
Yep.
pulled the women's matches really off the card, essentially. Besides Bianca Belair, you know, challenging for the belt and winning, and then Io cashing in.
Yep.
That was it. That was it. And I'm like, what a
Well, we had
slap to the
Ronda. We
face,
had
you know.
Ronda and Shayna though. We had that match too.
Yeah, we had that match too, and it's
Yep.
like, that's it.
Yeah. No.
Like, come on, you know, like Triple H, you're the man now. You're supposed to be the high horse of the people that everybody loves. You know, all the fans, the wrestlers backstage. You're not Vince. Stop being Vince. You know?
It's it's interesting, David, because we had that battle royal, right? We had the
Yeah.
battle
That.
royal, the Slim Jim battle royal. That is the type of thing that you could have put on the pre-show,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you
Totally
would have
agree.
had an audience for it, and you would have fulfilled your obligations with Slim Jim. You could have still gotten LA Knight over as being the winner of that battle royal, but you could have put that match on the pre-show, and you still could have given us Becky Lynch versus
Yes.
Trish Stratus, and I think that would have been fair. I think that would have been fair because that's a marquee match. You know what I mean? And that match could main event a TV show. Trish versus Becky.
And you're talking about you pulled the Hall of Famer off your show.
Yeah. It's crazy and disrespectful. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not impressed with Triple H as creative, as the head of wrestling operations. I've been on the record calling him New Coke. He thinks he's as good as the original, but when you really peel back the layers, you look at what's going on, it just ain't quite the same, man.
Yeah, did you I read something about him being booted off the executive directors. I don't know how accurate that is,
Well,
but he's not a part of the
there's a
because
new
of the new merger.
yeah, because of the merger. So you have UFC and you have WWE. They're both going to officially be owned by Endeavor.
Yes, that's right.
Um, that should be official by October, right?
Mhm.
So there's going to be a new company born out of that called TKO. So UFC and WWE are going to still be separate companies, but they're under the umbrella of TKO now. There's a board of directors for all of it. And Triple H, who was a member of the board for the WWE, so far, he's no longer a member of the board for the new company. Now that could change. WWE still has, I think, 5 more slots that they can plug people into, and maybe Triple H would be given one of those slots, but it's possible that he won't be. So if he's not on the board, that's a bad sign for him. You know what I mean? Because now you
Yeah.
start thinking to yourself, well, is his job in jeopardy? Because having a board seat kind of gives you a lot of power and influence. Not having that, now you're just taking direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with it with the and I have to admit, besides SummerSlam, the product is to me it's gotten better. Like it's
Yeah,
gotten there's
yeah.
it's way better. And I do and then speaking of the matches, Ricochet and Logan Paul, that was a good match. I gotta say that was a great match.
What a way to start the pay-per-view
Yeah,
off, huh? I
that
mean,
was
literally
amazing.
just spectacle. Listen, I'm not into flippy dippy peanut butter skippy. Okay. I want great storytelling, but I got to hand it to Ricochet. He really made it matter and he
Hmm.
made Logan Paul look incredible. And there were moments because, my bodyguard, she doesn't play around. Anyone messes with me, David, I'll have my bodyguard beat them up. Okay. She was here watching with me
Oh
and
man.
she was even and she's not the biggest wrestling fan, but she tolerates it because of me. But she was even saying, "Wow, Logan Paul is looking really good in there. What's wrong with Ricochet?" And I had to tell her, I was like, "No, you don't understand. Ricochet is making Logan Paul look really good in there, and that's why it's special." You know what I mean? And I said that before. In order for this match to really work, Ricochet is going to have to make Logan Paul look like $1,000,000. Well, he did. Logan looked fantastic in that match. So kudos to both of those guys. What a great way to start the night off.
Now, do you think that the rivalry is over? Do you think it's going to continue? I think it's just I feel like it'll be just a one-off just to put Logan Paul over.
It's a good question. I mean, I think there's a way to do that match one more time and do it in Saudi Arabia. So you're on that big stage because it's still, again, it's a spectacle, that type of match. It's something that's uncommon. It's something that you're going to get excitement out of. So why not? But I'm ready to see what happens next with Ricochet in particular because I feel like this is a guy who could contribute more. He just hasn't found his groove in the WWE. So where does he go from here? Who can he feud with to get the most out?
Right, right. And with him, he's always been a phenomenal wrestler. Like I met him back in the Indies back years ago, and he did a was it a double somersault backflip or something off the
Yeah,
top rope? That was insane when he used
I
to do
know.
it back when he was younger.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Lord. I'm
For a
like,
guy to be able to make his
oh
body do those things, it's
man.
incredible. Incredible. Yeah.
He has some agility. He has some
Hmm.
agility. Um and I actually thought of the I know that when EO cashed in that same day, I read that was it I'm trying to think who it is. Not EO Sky,
Kyrie
who
Sane?
who's the third member of Damage Control? I forgot.
Oh, you're talking about Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai. Yes, I read
Yes,
that
sir.
she actually they called her the day of the event. They're like, Bailey was like, we need you to get here. We need you to be here at the arena. EO's cashing in. She shows up at like 1 in the afternoon, right after the Gunther match. Which, speaking about that match, I love Drew and I love Gunther. I can't pick sides. They're both
Yeah.
great. They're both brawlers, brutes. Drew needs a push. He needs to win the belt. He needs to take it off Gunther. I don't think anybody else can.
Well, that's an interesting point because if Drew takes the belt off of Gunther, it's believable. I can believe that Drew can beat Gunther. And then what do you do with Gunther? You put him in the main event. Like, why isn't Gunther challenging Roman or challenging Seth Rollins or something like that? Like, let's go. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
guy doesn't need the secondary title. He needs to be in the main event picture at this point.
Right. Even and then there's Sheamus out there looking at the outside too. Is he's got one more belt to win.
Listen, let me tell you something about Sheamus. This is a guy, Sheamus, you're a punk. I never liked you. I need you to get rid of the contract, get out of this business, and get out of my life, okay? Because the biggest mistake you ever made, Sheamus, was thinking that in 2023, you're supposed to be pushed ahead of all of these young, exciting, hungry stars. You've been champion many times over already, buddy, okay? You do not deserve to be pushed over. Like, who are we going to get? Are we going to move Ricochet? Are we going to move Logan Paul? Are we going to move Roman Reigns and main event Jey Uso? Who are we going to move in order to accommodate Sheamus? Give me a break. You know what I'm saying? Sheamus is the kind of guy that wants to complain as opposed to get it done. Now, on the flip side, look at a guy like The Miz. It doesn't matter where The Miz is on any card. If he's in the main event or the first match or he's just hosting, he's always going to make an impact, right? He's The Miz. You always know that The Miz is there. Sheamus should take a page out of his book and stop complaining.
Right. Did you see that promo between LA Knight and The Miz?
Incredible.
That was
incredible.
I gotta say that was amazing between both of them.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it was way better than the MJF CM Punk promo because that was
Agreed.
Just I don't know what that was, but it was just a way to put MJF and make him a stronger heel, a stronger villain. Because CM Punk, I gotta be honest with you, he's falling flat. You know, he's not the same as he once was. It's like if you leave Coke out for a couple hours and it goes flat. That's how he's gone.
No more crispy, baby. No more crispy. It's true. You know, and listen, it's going to happen to all of us. We all get older. You know, David, you're a strapping, strong young man now, but at some point, you know, you're going to have to stop doing as much weight and start doing more reps because your body is not going to allow you to do it. And I think with Punk, you're seeing that. I mean, look at the guy. He's out of shape. There's no question about it. The guy is completely out of shape. And I think part of that is because it's very difficult at his age, with all the miles on his body, to remain in shape. You know, the guy drinks Pepsi. I'm sure he probably doesn't drink much water. It's just who he is. And he goes out there and he thinks he could still work like he's 20 years old. And it's like, buddy, no, it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to find another way to entertain the fans because you can't do what these young kids. He tried to do a buckshot lariat and he injured himself. You know what I mean? So this is a guy who he injured himself jumping into the crowd. Like, this is a guy that needs to realize.
I remember that.
Yeah, you're too old to be doing this nonsense, man. Just you know, and hey, maybe he shouldn't be wrestling. Maybe he should be managing,
commentating.
That too. You know what I mean? But it's like, look at Christian. You don't see Christian wrestling that much anymore, right? And he's still in great shape. He still can go, but he's doing more managing and contributing other ways.
And he cut some pretty good promos. I'm not gonna lie, this
absolutely
pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah. So if Punk took more of a Christian way of doing things, he could be more impactful, as opposed to thinking he, with his flabby body, can go out there and still work. Give me a break. Stop it right now.
You know, he could have done that with the Straight Edge Society back 12 years ago, but he was still young and he was still active. But what if he could bring it back to you know, something like that in AEW?
It'll be great
to just manage, you know.
It'll be great. It'll be it'll be a better role than what he's doing right now because the guy is just all over the place, trying to recreate old wrestling matches, and he thinks he's so slick. It's just like, just sit down, please.
Yeah. Take it easy, you know.
Yeah, take it easy. Come on,
tranquilo, man, tranquilo.
David, you're gonna get canceled. Listen, you know I'm a controversial guy, man. I speak my mind, and you're gonna get all the AEW folks upset with you now.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good, man. That's what the show's all about. You know, when we're talking wrestling, you gotta dish it out.
That's right. You gotta dish it out, brother. That's right.
You know, and then there's before we get back into SummerSlam, there's this one issue with Punk that's really bothering me. Now, what the hell was that with the belt putting the X? And I'm like, This is giving me NWO vibes, Hogan vibes.
Yeah,
What is he?
yeah.
The sober Hogan?
Listen, the guy is he's acting like a joke because he wants his own show. Tony Khan puts him on his own show, so he's got to have his own belt. It's so ridiculous. It's like you're a grown man, you work for a company, you better find a way to get along with people. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? You don't need a belt that's not the official belt. Stop it. Stop it right now, punk. You know? So, and but that's whose fault that is? That's Tony Khan's fault. And hi, Tony. I know you're probably watching right now because you hate watch everything that I do. Listen, and David can back me up on this. You're not doing a good job of managing that company. It's just as simple as that. And this Punk thing is a great example. There's no reason why you have a wrestler under contract who can't wrestle for both shows. It doesn't, or all three shows. It doesn't make sense. So you got yourself in a little bit of pickle there, buddy. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you gotta be more mindful of who's on your roster.
Yep.
You have to, if you have so many people, figure out a way to incorporate them. It's
Bingo.
almost like me working with kids. I got a bunch of kids, and I don't want to stick the best doing one thing. I want to make sure to incorporate everybody in the game, whether
Yep.
it's dodgeball, baseball, basketball, wrestling. It's all about being inclusive, bring everybody together.
And you know what happens then, David? Everyone feels better. Everyone works
Right.
together. They build, and you end up coming up with something that's even greater because you have so much more participation, as opposed to only a couple of people are getting the shine and everybody else is just standing around watching. Give me a break. Come on. That's not the way to treat anybody.
Yeah, and I just hope there's a way to fix that, because eventually all things, I gotta be honest with you, all things implode when you don't know how to manage.
Yep.
I mean, the locker room brawl with the elite, like, you could have, like, instead of letting Punk run his mouth during the press conference, you could have said, hey, you could have him step aside or step away from the
Yep.
from the conference, talk to him, be like, hey, Punk, I need you to, like, tone it down, or I need you to, like, stop saying what you're saying and act professional. Yet you decide to spew this knowledge to the Bucks and call Cabana and talk about his family and finances, and that's too much, man. Like, you could have kept that all to yourself. You
You
know,
know,
there's no place for
bad
that in
management.
wrestling.
Bad management with Tony Khan sitting right next to him. The guy buries other executives, buries the company, talks about Colt Cabana's mother, just a real mean spirited scumbag, quite frankly, in CM Punk. And listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that what he was complaining about isn't valid. Of course, he had some valid points there, but that's not a place for you to be airing out publicly where we all get to see that play out and be so bad that you got to get into a fist fight with people afterwards. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? It's just a mean spirited thing to do from a very selfish person who needs to understand how to work better with others. It's as simple as that, you know?
Right. And I'm hoping now that there's some form of change, but I doubt it. But it's like holding yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to whoever's involved in certain situations to change that outcome. You know, like, it's up to Punk to hold himself accountable for what has transpired. It's up to Tony Khan to hold himself accountable for what has transpired. Hold yourself accountable. That's all you
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah.
No,
Imagine that.
nobody's telling you that you shouldn't have this show or shows or whatever. We just need you to hold yourself accountable.
Yep. And I've said that to Tony directly. He jumped in my inbox, trying to talk tough to me on Twitter, and I told Tony Khan flat out. I said, "Look, man, I'm going to be honest about what I see. So when something's good, I'll say it's good, and when something doesn't make sense, I'm going to say it doesn't make sense, Tony. Because at the end of the day, We have to hold AEW accountable just like we do WWE and any other promotion. And the guy didn't like that. He took offense to that because Tony has an immaturity problem, in my opinion, where he feels like any pushback, any criticism of his product is a negative. Now, how are you supposed to know how to deliver for your customer base, for your fans, if you don't listen to the good and the bad that they have to say about the product? It's like, how do you know you
Right.
have a problem unless you get fan feedback on the fact that you have a problem? So it's just a weird. But these are folks who don't have experience. David, you have experience with managing
Right.
people, watching people, what have you. Tony Khan clearly didn't have enough experience to be doing this thing. He just had the money to do it.
I mean, if only he could. I mean, if only he could listen to the fans and to everyone around him and say, hey, wait a minute. The fans have a right, and I should probably listen to them more as far as being able to know how to manage, booking matches. Um, I could really hire someone. If I hire someone, it's okay to have that extra help. That just improves the company even more.
Yep, agreed.
All you're trying to do as a fan, yourself and I, and everybody else, is to help when we write on Twitter about things that we don't like or things that we do like, we're giving you feedback. It's not a reason for you to have pushback and complain and argue. It's for you to listen to your fans and give the fans what they want.
Yep, yep, you're right. You know what's crazy about that, David? Cody Rhodes said, "I want it all. I want all the complaints. I want all the praise. Send it to me. Tag me in your post." When that company started, he said, "I want it all." And it's funny because I reminded him a couple months later after that. I said, "Hey, Cody, remember you said you wanted it all?" He was like, "Yep, I love it, Duke. Keep it coming." Once Cody left, all that went out of the window. They don't want to hear any complaints. And when you give them complaints, they call it bad faith. That's a bad faith complaint. What the hell does that mean? You know what I mean? If you were not showing women more than once per TV episode, and I complain about that every single solitary week, I point out, hey, how come we're not featuring more women? You're stifling the entire division. It's difficult to get over when you're only featuring a couple of women at a time, as opposed to showing us some variety and giving us at least 2 matches in a 2-hour program. Um, that's a bad faith argument? No, I'm pointing out the sexism that's happening with this crazy guy running the damn company. You know what I mean? Because I thought you were going to treat women equally. So what happened? So hey, it is what it is, though. We know the issues in AEW. We know the issues.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just a matter of when he's going to say, you know what, I got to start listening more, and then I got to start because once I listen to my fans, that's when things start getting better.
Yeah, I mean, and look, that's not to say he hasn't. There
Yeah,
are
he's
times when
done.
he's
There
done
are
stuff.
times when he's done well. He's done.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
definitely times, but that's the thing. It's like, so if it worked, why aren't you continuing to do the thing? You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
insane. I don't know what the guy makes a video game before the company is profitable. Why would you invest so much money in a video game? You're not a video game developer. What are you doing? So the video game comes out, Fight Forever, and people were excited because it's something. But guess what? You notice no one's talking about the game anymore. They
Which
stopped playing the game.
which I have to be honest, I did get a copy of the game. I've played it. Um, it's a great game. It's though although I gotta say it is bare bones, and we do need some more modes and something in there. But it's a great game, all because Kenny's involved, and Sin Sophia, the former company of No Mercy that developed the N64, they're involved, and the only downside to the game is the creation suite, because they used to have such a big creation suite back when they had Ukes, but since 2K took over, I guess, quote unquote Ukes or THQ back in the day, they took everything that they had in the creation suite, and now
Mhm.
2K has it. 2K has all, and now they get these bare bones. but
So
we'll
here's
see.
the problem with that though. Have you stopped playing the game, or are you playing it on a nightly basis?
I'm playing it when I have time, but not as frequent as I should be.
Would you say that 2K you spend more time playing that in comparison when you play 2K? Do you
Yeah,
find yourself doing more on that as opposed to what you've been able to do with Fight Forever?
right. There's a lot more modes and a lot more things to do in
See?
2K. Yeah.
So here's my point. You're not a video game developer, Tony. If you're going to do something, either get it done right the first time or don't do it. It's a simple, because guess what? We don't want a video game from you. We want friggin' wrestling. It's like, get that done right first. You know what I mean? They're losing audience right now because the product is stale. Thank God they're going to England. They're going to be putting on this event where they've sold a
Ireland.
bunch of tickets, but that's the only thing that they've been able to do over the past year that even makes a little bit of sense, because less people are showing up at the arenas. They just had a 15,000 seat arena the other night for Dynamite. They had less than 5,000 people there. That's embarrassing. That's completely embarrassing. But you know why people aren't showing up, David? Because the product stinks. Because Tony's too busy trying to do a video game than he is about, hey, maybe we should diversify the top of this card. Maybe we should have more women's matches. Maybe we should allow the women to have more development in their storyline so people will give a damn when they're out there. Imagine that. You know what I mean? Instead of the nonsense that they keep putting out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's all I gotta say is, Tony, hold yourself accountable, man. You know, we're not,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
we're not trying to hound you or saying that you're a terrible person. We just need you to improve the product the way the fans want.
Because that's the
That's
way that he
all.
sold the product to us. He told us it was going to be a certain thing. It just hasn't been ever been that thing. You know what I mean? Women were supposed to be treated equal, get paid equally. Everyone's supposed to have health insurance, right? Black and brown wrestlers are supposed to be given an equal opportunity. None of that has happened yet.
Yeah. So with that being said, what did you think about the main event of SummerSlam, the battle between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns? Honestly, I feel like WWE changed the rules on the fly. You know,
Yeah.
because there was no disqualification, no interference. Next thing you know, Solo Sikoa gets involved, and then that turn that nobody saw coming, Jimmy.
I thought that it was well done, despite the fact that they didn't explain the rules properly and they changed the rules, like you said, out of nowhere. Didn't make any sense. I will say though, they got to figure something else out. We're getting into a point now where the bloodline storyline is feeling a little stale. What's Roman going to do next? So if you're not going to give us The Rock, you got to give us somebody else, man. But you better give him a good opponent that he can feud with, while the Usos figure out their problems, while Solo is still trying to figure out his issue. We need something more for Roman, for us. You know what I mean? And Jey Uso is great, but that's not a come on. Give us a real main event. Give us a real
Randy.
contender.
Randy.
Yeah, give us Randy. But if Randy's healthy,
Yeah.
is he healthy? You know what I mean? So, but if it's not going to be Randy, then where is The Rock? Where is The Rock? You know, that guy should be involved. I want to see Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania for the tribal chief moniker. Why not? You know, and if we're not going to get that, then who else can we bring in, man? We need some competition for this guy. Real competition.
Honestly, I feel like they should have at least have Edge, you know, be in there too.
I don't know if Edge can do it at this point, though. That's a big match. Roman needs a big competitor. He needs a big contender, somebody who can really put him in jeopardy. Is that Walter? Possibly. You know, could it be him? Could it be Kofi? The fans would get behind Kofi if Kofi was like, you know what? I never got a rematch when I lost against Brock, so I'm challenging you, Roman, and then tell that story. You know, that would be interesting. But it's like, give us
Right.
something a little different than what we've been getting, because it's starting to get to the point now where it's like, all right, guys, we need a payoff here somewhere. You know what I mean? Sami Zayn, that fizzled out, and that's okay. Cody Rhodes is still saying that he wants to finish the story. We can't get there yet. So what else is there? You know?
And then speaking about all that transpiring, you're talking about Damian Priest with the briefcase,
Yep.
the match with Finn Balor. Finn gets pissed. Finn gets pissed, looks at Damian, and I think I'm gonna say this now. They're headed for a split. They're all gonna split. Something's gonna happen.
I'm disappointed that Finn didn't win that match, because it would have been much better for him to win the match, be the champion, and then Damian tease cashing in on him every week. That's a hell of a story to tell. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have seen that, because I don't think Seth Rollins needs to be champion. He's already over. What does he need to be champion for?
He can start putting over the younger talent, just like
Yeah.
Cena.
Yeah,
And
exactly. But you could have put that belt with Judgment Day and told that story within that group the same way you're doing with the Bloodline, and I think that would have been excellent to go down that road.
yeah, and then Dominic, as a heel, he's done
Incredible.
phenomenal, but his
Yeah.
wrestling has been atrocious as usual.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But that's part of the game. That's part of the reason why he gets booed, because he's so terrible. How is this guy a champion and he's such a bad wrestler?
yeah.
That's part of it.
And buddy, if you're watching this too, you better go after Dominic or something. He's going after your girl.
Listen, Rhea Ripley, she has the best of both worlds. She has the top heel in the world. She has this muscle up Buddy Murphy. I mean, she's living the life, man. You know what I mean? She's got her boyfriend and she's got her husband. What else does she need?
Right? You got a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, man. Rhea is a pimp. Jesus.
Yep, that's what she says. She's always on top, right?
That's right. She sure is.
On top of the world, the wrestling world, and in life.
Yeah. She can't lose, brother. She can't lose.
Yeah, man. So Duke, your podcast, where can my listeners find your podcast?
It is the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, RASSLIN. You can hear it on all the major podcasting sites like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Zencaster, Acast, you name it, we're on there. Every Friday, I put up a new episode. This week, I'm really going to be hammering home the fact that we're living in the greatest period in WWE history. I truly believe that the company has never had a better roster. Michael Cole as a commentator, I don't think anyone's doing a better job in history than what Michael Cole's been able to do for that company. I just think overall, we're going to look back on this period right now, and we're going to be like, wow, that was the best. It's never been better than that. So once again, check me out on Duke Loves Rasslin, at Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on Twitter. You can say whatever you want to me. I will respond. I don't cuss or carry on, and I don't tolerate that from other people. But if you want to debate me, that's fine. I love to do that. I will come with the facts. So make sure you pull up your skinny jeans and put the flavored malt beverage down, because the Duke is top shelf, just like my brother David is top shelf. That's right.
Thank you, brother. And I gotta say, your voice is natural. Like you could literally, I'm glad you're podcasting, because your voice is like perfect for it.
I appreciate that, man. That's a huge compliment coming from you, David. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, like I don't know what it is. It's like the tone of your voice. It's like it complements the what you talked about. How you speak. It sounds very eloquent.
You're putting me over big time, David. I'm gonna have to throw a check in the mail for you now, because
I got you, man. I got to.
I love it. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. And keep at it. Podcasting. It's all about supporting each other, all about appreciating each other, and accepting feedback and criticism, which is something we kind of highlighted through most part of the podcast with AEW. So the main thing is accept feedback and criticism, and keep being a wrestling fan, because as you mentioned, we're in the best period of wrestling right now so far.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You are a poet, David. You are a poet.
Thank you, brother. And as always, what I like to end the podcast with, what kind of advice would you give anybody out there pursuing podcasting, uh, particularly the wrestling podcasting space? Because I know you mentioned yourself, you're a controversial figure. Now there might be people that might be thinking, should I get into wrestling podcasting? What if I say something that's like out of the ordinary and they're kind of come after me and this and that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's a real serious issue because, people will say a lot of mean, nasty things to you. Death threats and call you all every name but a child of God. It can be a challenge. Here's what I say to everybody. Think about why you're doing it. Are you podcasting because you want to hear your own voice? Are you podcasting because you have a message that you want to share with the world and you feel that the world deserves to hear it? Are you podcasting because you want to highlight other people? Or maybe it's a mixed bag of all those things. Figure out why you're doing it, because once you understand why, it's a lot easier to then move forward with getting it done. And you can focus on the goal of getting it done. For anyone just starting off, do not spend a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of companies, going to be a lot of people going to tell you got to get the best microphone, you got to have the best computer, the best mixer, and all. No, do not spend a lot of money. Try to utilize all the free opportunities as possible. If you have a computer and you have a pair of headphones, you're good to go. Eventually, you can save up money, get a microphone. Eventually, you can get a better computer, and you build. But in the very beginning, I would say for your first 6 months to a year, it's going to be terrible because no one can just get up and start being the best. So that's why you don't want to invest too much money before you know what you're doing. Because once you know what you're doing, then you can figure out, maybe I don't need the best microphone, but I need a better computer because maybe I want to focus on graphics and glossing it up and things. Or maybe I'm going to use basic graphics. I need the best microphone so I sound the best. So don't go out spending a bunch of money. Practice, put the content out there, edit, spend enough time editing, and listen to feedback, keep refining. And over time, you're going to get to a point where you're going to feel comfortable enough to say, you know what? I know what I'm doing now. Now I can start taking more chances. Now I can start investing. And that's really it, man. I mean, just know why you're doing it. Know why you're doing it. Don't spend a lot of money. Try to have as much fun as you can. And that's it.
Oh, thank you, Duke. I really appreciate the advice, and I'm sure my listeners do. And you can find this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. This has been a collab with the David Cerebral Palsy and Fitness podcast and Duke Loves Rasslin. I appreciate you, Duke. Thank you.
David, as I always say to everyone, my brother, be kind to yourself and then be kind to others. You are a class act, top shelf. Thank you once again.
Thank you, brother, and have a good day, everyone. Be safe and be blessed.